They're fantasizing about a night where your whispers cut deeper than any confession ever could. They're picturing a night where your touch feels like a storm they've waited their whole life to endure. They're fantasizing about a night where every breath you take pulls them closer into your orbit. They're imagining a night where your skin becomes a map and they're lost in exploration. They're fantasizing about a night where passion leaves both of you trembling and wordless. They're picturing a night where your kiss feels like drowning, but in the sweetest way. They're fantasizing about a night where surrender to you feels like the only freedom worth having. They're imagining a night where your closeness blurs every line between fantasy and reality. They're fantasizing about a night where the silence between you says everything words can't. They're picturing a night where your warmth burns away in the loneliness. Night where your eyes strip them bare before your touch even begins. They're imagining a night where every heartbeat feels like a countdown to eternity. They're fantasizing about a night where the darkness hides nothing and reveals everything. They're picturing a night where your lips become the only truth they believe in. They're fantasizing about a night where every sigh you release feels like their salvation. They're imagining a night where love becomes less of a word and more of a fire. They're fantasizing about a night where touching you feels like discovering creation itself. They're picturing a night where passion has no boundaries, only surrender. They're fantasizing about a night where even the air between you is electric with desire. They're imagining a night where your embrace makes them forget the weight of the world. They're fantasizing about a night where your closeness feels like gravity pulling them deeper. They're picturing its shouts. Kiss erases scars they thought permanent. They're fantasizing about a night where your presence feels heavier than silence itself. They're imagining a night where you let them taste the raw truth of who you are. They're fantasizing about a night where the only prayer they know is your name. They're picturing a night where passion and peace coexist in your arms. They're fantasizing about a night where your touch unravels every guarded part of them. They're imagining a night where love feels like chaos and comfort at the same time. They're fantasizing about a night where your body is the canvas and they paint with devotion. They're picturing a night where every kiss feels like stolen eternity. They're fantasizing about a night where you let them hear the secrets in your silence. They're imagining a night where your warmth lingers on their skin long after dawn. They're fantasizing about a night where passion turns every second into a lifetime. They're picturing a night where your soul presses so close it feels carved into theirs. They're fantasizing about a night where even the stars bent low to watch. They're imagining a night where desire makes the air thick enough to taste. They're fantasizing about a night where you let them fall apart in your embrace. They're picturing a night where your kiss drowns out every echo of the past. They're fantasizing about a night where vulnerability becomes the most seductive language. They're imagining a night where holding you feels like holding the fragile edge of forever. They're fantasizing about a night where love feels less human and more divine. They're picturing a night where every touch burns brighter than fire itself. They're fantasizing about a night where your closeness rewrites the definition of intimacy. They're imagining a night where passion consumes, but never destroys. They're fantasizing about a night where every sigh between you feels holy. They're picturing a night where your eyes hold the weight of eternity. They're fantasizing about a night where you let them become lost in your soul. They're imagining a night where every embrace feels like destiny fulfilled. They're fantasizing about a night where even silence tastes sweeter than words. They're picturing a night where your name echoes endlessly between their breaths. They're fantasizing about a night where your body becomes their favorite scripture. They're imagining a night where intimacy is raw, unshaped, and unforgettable. They're fantasizing about a night where your touch feels like both fire and water. They're picturing a night where passion has no rules, only truth. They're fantasizing about a night where love is painted across your skin. They're imagining a night where your heartbeat becomes their compass. They're fantasizing about a night where even the morning sun dares not interrupt. They're picturing a night where your closeness feels endless, infinite. Idadase Arshu I feature. They're fantasizing about a night where your body becomes the answer to every question they never dared to ask. They're picturing a night where your breath against their skin feels more sacred than prayer. They're fantasizing about a night where love and desire collide in a storm of restless hunger. They're imagining a night where their hands memorize every inch of you like scripture. They're fantasizing about a night where your kiss tastes like forbidden salvation. They're picturing a night where every sigh becomes a secret, only they get to keep. They're fantasizing about a night where passion shakes the walls, and silence holds the truth. They're dreaming of a night where your warmth melts every icy part of their soul. They're fantasizing about a night where the moon hides its light, ashamed to intrude on your intimacy. They're imagining a night where nothing exists, but the sound of your name whispered in desire. They're fantasizing about a night where touching you feels like riding fire across their veins. They're picturing a night where every embrace is a vow deeper than words could reach. They're fantasizing about a night where every heartbeat is proof they're alive, only because of you. They're picturing a night where passion leaves marks that no morning light can erase. They're fantasizing about a night where every glance burns hotter than flames. They're dreaming of a night where their soul finally finds its thrill in your arms. They're fantasizing about a night where your touch silences every fear they ever carried. They're imagining a night where the stars themselves fade, unable to compete with your glow. They're fantasizing about a night where the world outside doesn't exist, only you do. They're picturing a night where every kiss is a confession of all they've hidden. They're fantasizing about a night where you surrender to their devotion completely. They're imagining a night where every moment tastes like a treasure. They're fantasizing that. They're picturing a night where your closeness fills voids they didn't know existed. They're fantasizing about a night where your touch rewrites the story of their skin. They're dreaming of a night where passion lingers longer than dawn's arrival. They're fantasizing about a night where you let them break the silence with your name. They're imagining a night where your heartbeat becomes their favorite rhythm. They're fantasizing about a night where your kiss is the only escape from reality. They're picturing a night where the air itself trembles with your connection. They're fantasizing about a night where desire consumes everything but leaves peace behind. They're imagining a night where your closeness feels more intoxicating than wine. They're fantasizing about a night where your eyes pierce deeper than any blade. They're picturing a night where your skin becomes the canvas of their devotion. They're fantasizing about a night where every word you whisper is carved into eternity. They're dreaming of a night where holding you feels like holding the whole universe. They're fantasizing about a night where passion is both the fire and the cure. They're imagining a night where your silence screams louder than thunder. They're fantasizing about a night where you forget the world and remember only them. They're picturing a night where every kiss is a spark that sets their soul ablaze. They're fantasizing about a night where intimacy feels endless and unstoppable. They're imagining a night where your laughter drowns out every broken memory. They're fantasizing about a night where vulnerability feels like power, not weakness. They're picturing a night where your body speaks the truth, your lips hide. They're fantasizing about a night where your warmth heals every scar they carry. They're dreaming of a night where your name becomes the hymn of their heart. They're fantasizing about a night where love is written in sweat and breath. They're imagining a night where your presence makes time collapse in surrender. They're fantasizing about a night where their soul burns brighter from your touch. They're picturing a night where your sighs dive them deeper into you. They're fantasizing about a night where you let them see the rawest version of you. They're imagining a night where closeness feels infinite and boundaries dissolve. They're fantasizing about a night where every glance feels like prophecy fulfilled. They're picturing a night where your love feels like both sin and salvation. They're fantasizing about a night where your body answers questions words could never. They're dreaming of a night where their desire finally finds its home in you. They're fantasizing about a night alone with you, where every unspoken desire finally bursts into firelit reality. They're imagining a night where silence is filled with the sound of your breathing, closer than ever before. They're fantasizing about a night where their lips discover secrets your soul has been hiding. They're picturing a night where even the stars envy the glow of your skin beneath their touch. They're fantasizing about a night where time stands still and only the two of you exist. They're dreaming of a night where your laughter melts into their heartbeat, binding you together. They're fantasizing about a night where every word you whisper rewrites the rhythm of their pulse. They're imagining a night where your bodies speak a language no one else will ever understand. They're fantasizing about a night where longing turns into reality and love burns into memory. They're picturing a night where their hands find comfort in every curve of your being. They're fantasizing about a night where your eyes confess everything your lips never dared. They're imagining a night where passion becomes prayer and your union feels divine. They're fantasizing about a night where sleep never arrives because desire refuses to fade. They're picturing a night where your soul collides with theirs under the quiet blessing of darkness. They're fantasizing about a night where the moon becomes a witness to your untamed love. They're dreaming of a night where your kiss feels like the eternity they've been chasing. They're fantasizing about a night where nothing exists beyond the walls that hold you together. They're imagining a night where every touch heals wounds that words never could. They're fantasizing about a night where they finally discover how you taste between confessions. They're picturing a night where your warmth becomes the only blanket they need. They're fantasizing about a night where your name becomes a prayer whispered against trembling lips. They're imagining a night where surrender feels less like weakness and more like destiny. They're fantasizing about a night where your bodies write poetry across tangled sheets. They're picturing a night where the world disappears, leaving only the sound of your sighs. They're fantasizing about a night where holding you feels like holding the universe itself. They're dreaming of a night where your silence says more than 1,000 conversations ever could. They're fantasizing about a night where passion is no longer a thought, but the storm unleashed. They're imagining a night where you press your soul into theirs without fear of breaking. They're fantasizing about a night where midnight becomes the start of something endless. They're picturing a night where your heartbeat syncs perfectly with the chaos of their desire. They're fantasizing about a night where love isn't gentle, but raw and consuming. They're imagining a night where every stolen glance finally finds its release. They're fantasizing about a night where touching you feels like touching eternity. They're picturing a night where you let them explore every hidden part of your being. They're fantasizing about a night where your laughter lingers in their chest, long after dawn. They're dreaming of a night where closeness erases every ounce of distance between you. They're fantasizing about a night where temptation becomes truth and desire becomes destiny. They're imagining a night where the world pauses, so love has time to bloom wildly. They're fantasizing about a night where vulnerability feels safer than silence. They're picturing a night where you both surrender to something bigger than yourselves. They're fantasizing about a night where your hands leave imprints that time can't erase. They're imagining a night where every kiss feels like a promise finally fulfilled. They're fantasizing about a night where their name tastes better on your lips than anywhere else. They're picturing a night where longing finally finds its home in your arms. They're fantasizing about a night where your warmth redefines what comfort really means. They're dreaming of a night where pleasure and peace coexist in perfect harmony. They're fantasizing about a night where the dark hides nothing between you. They're imagining a night where your body feels like the scripture they've always worshipped, They're fantasizing about a night where closeness heals everything distance ever broke. They're picturing a night where love feels so real, it scares them to breathe. They're fantasizing about a night where time bends to keep you in their arms. They're imagining a night where your eyes ignite a fire no ocean could put out. They're fantasizing about a night where every second is soaked in unforgettable intimacy. They're picturing a night where vulnerability is the most seductive thing of all. They're fantasizing about a night where your lips teach them the meaning of surrender.